Hi, my name is Antonis and I'm an iconographer and a painter. Today you will see me painting this study of a grape, and for this I will use oil as my medium. So I hope you will find this interesting, how these little spheres, these white spheres here will become grapes. I hope you are well during these winter days, and you are in your studio painting and fighting the cold. For this painting, I've used a board that is gessoed with an acrylic glue. I mean, I add acrylic glue and not rabbit skin glue. And on that glue, I will add some water and some calcium carbonate powder. And with this, I will prepare my wood board in order to paint with oil on top. I will, for this painting, I use only 4 colors, I mean for the grape itself. And I will explain to you now which these colors are. As you see, first I'm using titanium white, of course. I'm using this phthalo blue or phthalo, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, I think it's phthalo. Some cobalt blue, and my last color is alizarin red. With just these 4 colors, I'll try to paint this beautiful grape. Here you will see me doing some mixtures of some blending of color, just to show you what kind of colors I used for this painting. This is not my actual palette. I didn't record my palette as I was painting, but the combinations of the colors that you will see here are pretty much what I've used. So first you see me mixing titanium white with some cobalt, with some phthalo blue, and then you will see me mixing alizarin red with this blue. I'm doing many combinations. Of course, there are innumerable combinations that you can do with these 2 colors, but mainly I'm using, I demonstrate here some of the combinations that I used, approximately of course, to paint these grapes. You will see how differently cobalt blue responds to white in comparison to phthalo blue, and how these 2 blues change accordingly when you add alizarin red and white. Here, of course, you don't see me adding any thinner or linen oil. In my painting, I mostly thin my colors with turpentine oil, and on the end layers I will add maybe some drops of linen oil. It's really interesting to see these mixtures, and whatever you'll see coming on the video, it's mainly the combinations of these colors that you see here. I don't often use, well, I never use a spatula to paint with. I only use brushes, but spatula seems a really interesting way to apply color on a painting too. I might try this on some future video. So anyway, back to the painting process, back here on our board. The first thing, of course, I do, and those who follow this channel are familiar with, is to draw my drawing on a piece of paper and then trace this drawing on my board. Now, for this painting, I'm using a reference from Google Arts and Culture website. It's an amazing reference for us painters, because you can find in high detail many paintings that are amazing and would be great to copy and study. So I'm using that, and the painter that has originally painted this grape is called Jacob Van. I don't recall his name right now, but I think you can find his name on Google Arts and Culture, and I will write his name on the description below, on the description of the video. So what I do now is, after I trace my drawing, I will paint a little bit the main lines of the drawing with a darker oil color, and then I will cover everything very loosely, very, without too much attention. I will cover everything with a semi-transparent color that will give me an idea of the shadows and the lights of the painting that I have to paint. Now, this is a color painted with acrylic. You can always use acrylic when you are painting with oil. Always you can use acrylic or egg tempera, a water-based medium, before adding any oil. But as soon as you add any oil medium on the painting, then you can't add any more water-based medium on top. So I use this purple acrylic color just to have an idea of light and shadow, and then, as you see now, I am proceeding with painting the background. Usually I overwork my backgrounds. I try to see how to make these backgrounds more vivid, more interesting, more painterly and visually more interesting. But here I decided to just cover the background with some color, again to keep it a little bit transparent, so that the purple will be seen a little bit on the back. But I didn't give it any more thought. I just try to imitate the background of my reference, and that's it. Of course, there is a table, or I believe it's a marble or stone table, where the master has painted the still life on, supposedly, and I will also try to imitate this marble table that the still life is on. You see me here. I have turned my painting upside down. And this is more helpful for me to paint these lines. When painting, you can do whatever seems more comfortable to you. But I just want to say, I have many students who prefer drawing on a table and not on an easel. I believe that a painter should accustom himself or herself to paint on an easel, since it's easier for a painter to see what he paints when he sits right in front of the canvas of the board, in comparison to having the board on a table and painting from that. If you are accustomed to painting on a table, just try to do the transition. You will see that at first maybe it will be not easy, but later on it will be great. So now when I'm comfortable with the table, as you see, I've started painting the shadow of the grape. I'm using a very dark cold water, no water, but cold color, and uh, with this I'll try to paint the shadow that casts on this marble table. I have kept some color that is this light gray bluish of the table, and I will try to do this blending with the shadow as I see it on my reference, and as I believe that it should be as possible. Sometimes we insist on an area, and we just paint and paint and paint, and it can go forever. When something doesn't feel right, or it seems that you can blend there forever, just move on and just declare it done and proceed, even if you are not completely happy with this. Of course, here is a good time to say that we are painting, and I like people who are painting in the spirit of a student, who are painting to learn and to become better to improve their skills, and yeah, it's nice to insist sometimes to believe that we can paint better, but often we just have to give up and say, okay, today it's not a good day for me to paint a great shadow or a great cloth or whatever. But don't give up easily. Try to find the middle solution there. It's always good to insist. That's the only way to improve. So sometimes we have to insist, and sometimes we have to withdraw. And now you will see me painting the grapes. So I have started by mixing on my palette some of the phthalo blue with a little bit of alizarin red, just to make it darker, but I don't want this to lose its bluishness, let's say. And I will start by painting this big grape that you see, and some of the grapes around it, just by painting the shadows that I see. They have this beautiful dark deep red. I'm sorry, blue. Today, I don't know, it's not a good day. It's very cold here where I am, and there is snow outside, so I guess snow affects my brain and my ability to communicate things. So forgive any lapse of the tongue, any mistakes. Of course, it's not just, I'm not doing those when it's winter. I'm doing them, these mistakes always. But, you know, I'm glad that many of you write me not to worry about how I talk, that you understand me perfectly, etc. Thank you so much for this. I try to just ignore my communication skills, but they insist. They insist. Sorry. So as you see here, I'm just doing this shadowy part of these grapes that, as I see on my reference, they have the same dark blue. As you will see, I will not cover the whole grape with this bluish shadow. as not all grapes have the same bluishness. I will observe my reference well, and accordingly I will paint these shadows. I haven't painted any grapes like these before. This reference is from around, I think this grape was originally painted on 1625, if I'm not mistaken, and it has a very characteristic, it's very characteristic. You will see by the end how nice this grape looks, and I want to see if I can manage to copy this illusion with my poor knowledge of painting, my average knowledge of painting. I'm not, I believe, a master, but I aspire to become better. And then you see that I created this lighter blue by adding some titanium white. And with this I'll try to do the blending between the shadows that I painted earlier and this lighter color here. As you see, I'm not in a hurry. I try to enjoy myself, and at the same time I have to say that I'm already amazed by the result that I have with this grape just by having painted this one grape. Of course, what's always unbelievable to me is that great masters knew how to create these illusions. But if you stick your nose on the board, if you go so closely on the board, you will just see brush strokes. You will just see, the mark of the tool that has been used. But when we step further back, then things start showing us something, telling us something. And to me, that is really, really unbelievable. So I was trying to say before that I haven't painted any grapes as this before. I don't have any, special technique, or that's why I show you here in actual motion how long it takes for me to paint these grapes. I don't have any recipes or step. Well, yes, there are some steps that I follow, but it's how I imagine that these masters might have painted their painting. And then I have to say that I don't care too much about their specific recipes or process, since each painter has its own approach, and sometimes we see painters who have no idea of any academic work painting something in a very fresh, very nice way. So I just try here to reach to a nice result, a result that looks like the image of the past, but without really knowing what I'm doing. I believe yes, it's a blind process. Here, though, on this grape, as you see, I'm adding for the shadow part of this grape a more reddish hue. As you see, it's more reddish. It's not the same as the bluish shadow that I added before. Here is a mixture of alizarin red, titanium white, and a little bit of blue. So it's interesting to see how I believe the master must have done the same thing, how we approach this kind of study painting each grape little by little. Sometimes we believe that these masters just magically created the image, but I'm pretty sure they also were not in a hurry. They were meticulously painting each detail, each area of their painting. So again, I apply these colors as I see them on my reference, and I try to imitate them, and little by little to reach into that same result. I have to say that also I don't know if you agree with me on this. Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested in this. I really envy those masters because they didn't have so many things to make them stand up from their easel. They didn't have any. What's the word? I'm searching for a word, but I really can't find it right now. These masters didn't have any internet or a cell phone that always blinks, and they could stay for hours on their easel and concentrate so deeply on what they did. For us, we've created a life that many of us, I'm sure it's not all of us, but many of us have created this life where there's always something that needs our attention or asks for our attention, and it's so easy to just stop painting or stop doing what we do to respond to this person, to that news, to this and that. And I find for myself that it becomes more and more difficult to concentrate for hours on a painting, and I think that a big part of this is our time spent online, where we jump from one subject to another, from one thing to another, without really concentrating deeply into something. So I believe, learning to paint, it's not just the skill, it's a whole set of skills, not just drawing or painting or how to mix colors or this and that, but I believe it's a whole, I would say, life approach, knowing how to make time for your painting, for your studio, knowing what's good in your life and supports this painting skill that you have, and what's not. And speaking for myself, I believe that too much internet is not good for a painter. Here, as I move to another area of these grapes, you see that I'm creating for shadows these deep red shadows and these brighter pinkish shadows, according to my reference, of course. And I already am excited about the outcome of this grape and how this illusion does correspond to the image that I have in front of me. Well, I'm thinking now that I haven't uploaded a video for a little time. I tell you, when it's winter, I really become, I fall into, like the bears, I fall into a sleep. But I haven't uploaded for a time now, and as I speak, I really enjoy imagining you, the viewers here, imagining you watching this video, agreeing or disagreeing with me, enjoying, liking this video, or not really liking it. But it's something that is, I can't really describe it. It's a really nice feeling of communication with you, of yeah. So thank you so much for being here, for supporting with your presence this channel. I do hope that you take something out of this channel, you learn something, and you are inspired as well to be more in the studio and paint a little more. As I say, I love people who work in this spirit of a student who want to learn, to always learn, and later on apply this everything they have learned, apply those to some more personal work, something more of their own. So thank you so much for being here, and I can really feel a warmth when I imagine that I'm talking to you. I do feel a warmth coming out, and it's really nice during these months of the winter. I would also like to thank all my Patreons for supporting me there. I really can't thank you enough for your support. It's really nice, and it does actually really support me. I aspire someday to be able to to quit from my day job as a teacher and become a full-time painter. This your support on Patreon does really help me financially, and it really does help the production of these videos. So again, thank you so much for this support. Now, little by little, we do cover areas of this grape, and as you see here on this specific one, I try to blend this bright pinkish shadow with this gray-blue light, and the result is unexpected and really interesting. When I'm painting this grape, I have, or if you try it for yourselves, try to to have in your mind also something else. That these grapes, of course, are spheres, and they are, they exist independent from each other. But try to somehow try to create some blending, some slight blending in between those. Don't just paint them with clear borders in all their roundness, if I make myself clear. Try to keep their roundness and their independence, but at the same time try to somehow keep some areas where these grapes somehow merge into each other, and the borders are not very strict. I believe this will give your painting a very nice appearance, a very nice result. Oil is a great medium to have a more loose brush stroke, and I think it is important to find a balance between how to blend the borders, what to keep in sharpness, what to keep sharp, and what to blend. So let me know in the comments. I have to say that I do read them all, and I don't have much time to answer these comments as I would like to, but I read all of your comments, and they are amazing, unbelievable. I really thank you all so much for them. Let me know how you do with this internet thing that we discussed before. If this affects your studio life, and if you agree with what I have noticed, that it does make me less prolific as years pass. I don't know if it's internet or it's just me getting older a little bit. I don't know. Let me know what you think on this subject. It's really interesting for me. Or if you have any other practices that make you more prolific, they inspire you to be more in the studio and spend more time there. It's not an easy thing. Many painters, I often hear many painters say that they love to be in the studio and how much they enjoy it. And yes, it's true. But at the same time, it can be very tedious, very frustrating, and above all, it can be very lonely. I believe that the main challenge of somebody who is painting is that loneliness can be long for many hours, and sometimes, especially when it's winter, it can be hard. So I hope that now you understand what I'm doing. Remember the palette I showed you earlier? I have these colors on my palette, and I just blend these colors. I move them along with my brush and try to create these forms of light and shadow. Now, at this point, while I'm adding material on top of material, oil and layers of oils, I will add on my palette some drops, very few drops of linen oil. This will make my top layers stay and be manipulated with the brush. But to be sincere, I try to avoid this oil this adding of the oil as much as I can, since it does affect the color on the years to come. The linen oil yellows the painting later on, so I try to work as much as I can by thinning my colors with turpentine oil, and if I just want to add more layers of oil, I will just add a little bit of linen. Or if I just can't manipulate the color anymore before it becomes muddy, I will just let the painting dry for a couple of nights, and I believe after that I will be ready to proceed with a layer on top of on my dry layers. Little by little, this grape does come along. You'll notice that I haven't added any highlights yet. I keep those for the end, and these highlights will truly give me the illusion of a reflection of light on my grapes. So when you will do this study, try to decompose a little the grapes. Try to see what you can paint first, what later, and what kind of what kind of highlights you can use, middle lights, etc. One of my main teachings in this channel, something that I want you to know, is that when we paint, it's a process in the dark. We don't know how the outcome will be, and this can be frustrating. It's not like cooking, when you have a specific recipe and if you follow it, you will paint this and that. Yes, we can have recipes, and many students work like that, but I believe most of the joy, the pleasure we take when we paint is to proceed in darkness, blind, and almost blind. I mean, we always to some extent know what we do, but this insecurity sometimes is the factor that makes us more happy when the outcome is nice, when we like the outcome. And I want you to know that even accomplished painters do feel this insecurity. They do not always know what they do, and this is important to understand and not let us this feeling of insecurity or of little confidence affect us and keep us away from painting. Even if our painting is not something great, that doesn't really matter. I believe what matters is to take pleasure from the process, even if it can be frustrating, even if the process can be disappointing, hard, tedious. I believe that nothing of that should stop us from being in the studio and from taking the pleasure of creating something with our hands. And even if it's not great, it's something that we made, and for many people it's very valued. I always feel a lot of joy when I'm painting. If I try something new, if I try something unexpected, and this grape, I have to say, made me enthusiastic about it. It was something I haven't done ever before. And I really have to say that I was excited from the result and the outcome, and just because it's something that I never tried before. So I would say, even if you are accustomed in painting with a specific style or just painting the same subjects, it's always nice to try something different, and especially if this different it's something that you are afraid of, or you believe that you will not be good enough in painting it. Just try and see what will come from that. I'm sure that the result will give you a lot of pleasure, and sometimes many of my students and me myself, we just can't believe in what we painted and what was the result of the work of our hands. Now here you see me adding those highlights that I say. It's titanium white, maybe a little bit mixed with some phthalo blue or cobalt blue, and or it can be pure titanium white, but thinned down with linen oil and turpentine. It can be a very thin color. Well, as you see, not very thin, but thin enough to be manipulated a little bit, and when you use the brush in such a way to blend it with a little bit with the rest of the grape and the colors that exist underneath. Make sure to not cover everything with this highlight. Just don't spread it everywhere. Just add a dot and then see if this dot can be, smeared or, moved here and there to be more visually interesting. These dots are a little bit tricky, I believe, these highlights, because if we just place them without any manipulation afterwards, they can seem just what they are, dots of white paint. So as you see, I just place a dot and then I will move my brush a little bit around, just a little bit, to partially smear it. I will let a part of the dot, of the white dot, intact, and then some other part I will just smear it with the rest of the grape. This way the illusion will be greater, and this white dot will really give the illusion of the reflecting light. In the final result, you will see that I completely removed my pomegranate from the painting. I was so happy with the result of the grape that here I was afraid to paint the pomegranate. I was like, okay, this grape looks good. I'll just erase the pomegranate. I will not paint it, and will just keep a very simple grape on top of this stone table. When you paint, just try to sort things in groups. Like as you see here, I didn't paint the stems of the grapes here. On this session, I just focused on my grapes. So thank you again so much. I think this video comes to an end. The grape looks complete for the most part, and I want to thank you again for being here. If you like this video, press the like button, just so that this video can be shared with more people. Stay in your studio, try to be as creative as you like, as you can, and I will see you soon with another video, hopefully sooner than the time before this video. Stay creative, stay healthy, and have great sessions in your studios. And stay warm. Bye.